well. I mean, and I feel justified in that, but I do think, she is my friend. And what I have to do with any person in my life whom I love dearly is make sure they feel validated and loved. And I probably could have done a better job at that and making just sure that, she constantly felt I was checking in. And in hindsight, and I think I said this in my apology to her that you see later in the season, again, when you're in that really tough situation, you just have to plow through and then you look back and make amends for what you can.
Were you shocked? I mean, listen, I come from a family where like everybody is divorced. This is probably why I'm not married, nor really have any interest in being married, but that's for a whole nother podcast. But I mean, I have so much divorce in my family, and it's never been, it's like, it's brutal. It's like, it's been the most vicious battles of everyone involved. So to me, when I'm watching this and like Silvio's like, it's going to be copacetic, I'm like, girl, of course this is where it ends. I mean, but not everyone has a cynical view of the world like I do. I mean, were you shocked like when this went from one thing to the other?
I think, yes, in the moment, every new revelation was shocking to me. I think I grew up, my parents were not divorced. They are now, but it was much later in my life. But my father was in the legal profession. And so I saw a lot of this happen. So I think at the time I was maybe a little bit more skeptical or cynical, as you said. But I just think it's really a terrible situation for all parties involved. And from my perspective, I just hope that there's, resolution. I know Julia is so strong and so passionate and powerful that she's going to fight for herself. And, what I've learned a lot from Julia through the years is this like indomitable power of perseverance. And every day of my life, I try to incorporate a little bit more of that into my own life. And it's hard because I come from a place of like fear and anxiety. And so like feeling bold enough to like really go and fight is very powerful to me. So that's something I always take away from this situation. But to answer your original question, I don't think I expected the scale. And as you see in the show, like every new little piece was surprising.
Was it as tense? Like you lived it, you were in that penthouse hauled up for, I mean, like as a viewer, you're just, I mean, we saw it play out in the media, of course, but like watching it is different, right? So to me, watching it, you're like, oh man, this is like, did it feel just as intense being there? Or
Yeah, I mean, for me, my heart just broke for Julia because, I could never imagine myself being in that situation. I was, in a very, third degree affected by some of it. But I think my main concern through the whole process was just Julia's mental health. And I tried however I could to like take her out of those intense moments and try and, make light or have fun or find moments of repose, which were sometimes successful and sometimes not successful. But yeah, I think I was just, again, I come from a place of like, oh, legal things are scary, all of that. So it's nerve wracking to kind of see all of that unfold right in front of you.
look, you took her to Texas, you got her out of the city. Did you, to your point you just made, like she's like extremely strong, Julia, did you ever think like, it's going to be over, she's going to fold, just like give in, leave the penthouse, you win, here's the red flag? Or were you always, because it's an intense situation, like you said, legally, and people are not used to this? Or did you just always say, no, this woman's going to fight, and for
I
what's right for
never,
her?
ever, ever expect Julia to fold. That if she is anything, it's that she's a fighter. So, if anything, I spent my time kind of trying to help her, not back down, but to take a minute and be comfortable or have some peace in her life in the middle of a very difficult moment. But no, no folding for that woman. Absolutely not.
What about, we also saw, we talk about like Batsheva's out there living her best life. We saw Shlomo this season kind of, make some moves on some women. You took him to get his back waxed. I mean, has he lost his virginity yet?
Can we understand why I had so much back hair moments in season two? Like for just 1 second, why was I like the back hair czar? That was probably the most unexpected revelation for me.
I was like, were you sitting there like, out of everything that's cut and doesn't make it
Yes.
like, this is now we have like
Yes.
back hair?
Yes. I That was probably the funniest thing to me. But Shlomo, I'll let him answer his own questions about virginity. But just to have see him every day blossom a little bit more, he's like the constant. He's the kindest, sweetest, most gentle guy in the world, and he's just this constant help, constant support. And for that, any woman would be very, very lucky to be dating virginity, whatever, with Shlomo. That's my opinion.
Well, listen, you're a girl about town. Like, don't you know a nice single woman for Shlomo?
I know. Honestly, I haven't put any effort into it. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I'm old, much older than Shlomo, so like there's a 10-year. I gotta find. I don't have many of those like 25-year-old friends.
Yeah.
She's an old lady these days.
As I was watching it, I was like, don't I have? But same thing. All my girls are, I got some nice single Jewish girls in New York, but they're all probably like too old for him.
Yeah, yeah. He's putting himself out there. I think he's going on dates. I think he's, living like Batsheva, his best life. But he's also a lot more conservative, a lot more, calculated in a good way. And, he's going to find the right girl who's going to appreciate all of those amazing, gentle qualities about him. And they're going to probably be happier than all of us.
Well, seriously. Well, to me, as a viewer, the voice of reason to me is Miriam. I mean, is she the voice of reason in reality as much as I have made her out to be in my backstory and in my head?
Always. What's amazing about Miriam is like it's always a yes. She comes from this place of yes, not to steal like I think that's a Bethany Frankel line, but like she is always up for anything. She will fight any fight. She's truly a warrior for her mother and for her friends. And, she's very inspiring and she can do just about anything. That's what's amazing about her.
I mean, I know she got into Stanford and all, which Stanford didn't want me. So, she's obviously brilliant. But as I watch this, I'm like, this girl knows everything.
Yeah. She can, there's nothing she can't do. And she can, I don't know, she's part of that generation that just, they can learn anything like this. I would call on Miriam for anything, that I ever needed. And she would be there and she would be probably, as you said, the best possible voice of reason.
Well, listen, talk about relationships that we loved watching. I was like so into her and Natalie, and I know they broke up.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I don't know exactly what happened. I think they were moving to different places. So I think distance had something to do with it. I got a piece of ice here.
You're entitled.
I love that. It's actually very hot in here. I love them as a couple. We had so much fun with them. I still see Natalie. We went out the other day to Townhouse, the gay bar in the Upper East Side. And, they're both great, great girls. And they're in that like prime of their life where they're exploring. I know Miriam exploring her sexuality. Natalie, I know less about in that capacity, but I just know that, they had fun time together and